Hey guys, Scott here. Yesterday on stream, I watched Hens' video about how hackers are taking over Dead by Daylight, and I wanted to have a reaction to it, and I was going to just upload that, but I just watched it over, and it just felt lazy. I felt like, why not just go watch Hens' video, because it's super well edited. It's a good video. So instead, I'm just going to have a commentary and summary over it, and whether I think this is as big of a problem as it's actually claimed. So the title of the video was how hackers are taking over Dead by Daylight, or this game, rather. And I don't, that's just obviously not true. Hackers are not taking over DBD. That is, when I think of cheaters taking over a game, I think of something like Tarkov or something like that, where every single match you play, there's a pretty good chance someone in it is cheating. Personally, I think I've encountered one cheater in the past year. Now, that's not to say my experience is everyone's, obviously. And in fact, there was a really bad period a couple of years ago, right after a free giveaway or a free-to-play weekend on the Epic Game Store. After that, we had a lot of cheaters. For me, it went from like 1 in 100 games to like 1 in 10 games. It was way, way more common. Now, the thing is, even though it was more common, it's still more common if you're a content creator, because the reason that a lot of these people, most of these people cheat is to see the reactions of the streamers. If you're just a random DBD player, 99.9% of the player base, most of this doesn't affect you that much. Again, not saying you don't encounter cheaters, because they do exist. I'm not even going to pretend they don't exist. I'm just saying to claim it's an issue of they're taking over the entire game is definitely hyperbole, because it's just simply not the case. Taking over a game implies that the game is essentially unplayable. Like it's ruined entirely. And I don't think that really anyone feels like that at all, except sometimes streamers that are getting targeted by it. Then it can feel pretty annoying. So again, like I said, a few years ago, I had to deal with this as well. I think every single DBD content creator had to deal with this. So we were getting stream sniped by cheaters that would hold the game hostage. And the only real outcome that we had there was to just sit there and hold the cheater hostage as well, basically landing on a grenade for our fellow streamers, just so that particular streamer couldn't really influence anything anymore. And, we would make fun of it. We would do something else. We would play, Roblox or something like that, just some dumb shit to keep up, entertainment and stuff like that, until they eventually, and they always would, leave. But as it happened more and more and more and more, it did start getting pretty tiring, to the point where, obviously we can't disconnect because these cheaters can insert themselves into your lobbies. And so if you're a known, content creator or streamer or something like that, they can just force them into your game every single time. So that becomes a lot more complicated, because it's not something that you can just continually ignore. You can do it for a little while, but eventually it does start hurting your stream and stuff like that. So this was an issue, and I've heard, at least maybe it's just a Europe thing right now, that it's kind of obnoxious now, but it's not. I'm not like seeing it on any of the big content creators that I watch, Hens included. I'm trying to think of all the European streamers I watch. I'm not really seeing cheaters like at all. So I'm not really sure where the claim is coming from here that they're taking over the game, because it's a very, very, very small group. But the problem is it can appear a lot bigger when they target content creators, because, the curse of content creation. Whenever I make a video about a perk being, strong or weak or something, in 3 days on Reddit, someone's going to suddenly have the same opinion very conveniently and word it the exact same way I do. So I'm not blind to the fact that people do take what happens to content creators and then extrapolate their own reality based on that. I understand that. So I can understand if you see a video titled, hackers are taking over the game, you could think, oh shit, hackers are taking over the game. I completely understand that, and that makes perfect sense. But the reality is it's just simply not as bad as everyone thinks it is. It's really just not. Now, that's not to imply it can't get that bad, because the hackers do have the tools to do that. In fact, apparently, according to Hens' video, they've gotten advanced to the point now where they don't even have to stay in your lobby anymore. They can essentially force the bot that remains to cheat, so you're held hostage by a bot instead. So now you can't do the counterplay of keeping the cheater in the game with you just to waste their time, because now they've already left and they're doing it to someone else now. So shit like that can start making it become far more complicated. And that's the kind of scenario where behavior has to start looking at ways to address that. And the thing is, the whole cheater thing, it's a war. It's a war back and forth. Behavior implements, roadblocks to stop cheating. Cheaters find a way around it. Then behavior has to find a way around that thing that they found a way around. It's a constant battle back and forth. And so if the latest thing is that cheaters are able to have bots hold you hostage now, then they need to have some stopgap or check so that when a bot is cheating or a bot is in a position that is impossible to be in or something like that, it resets them back to a default state or something. This is something that should be pretty easy to do. Just having a bot restore to a completely default state. That should be a pretty... I'm not going to say simple. I don't really know the how anti-cheat works, but it doesn't. The concept does not seem super complicated to me. Just resetting a bot back to basically just reloading the bot from scratch. So that might be something that they need to look into. But the main takeaway, in my opinion, from all of this, at the end of this video, Hens has a great, we'll call it, interview. I was talking to him in my chat, and he said it was really not a civil interview. He just edited it to make it seem like that because, you know, he's arguing with fucking troglodytes. They're absolutely the dregs of society dipshits that think they're, you know, literally hacker 4chan anonymous people. So it's a really entertaining watch, and I do recommend you go watch Hens' interview on it. But the main thing that interests me about all of this is why they do it. Now, the description that they gave Hens basically was they just essentially like trolling streamers. They like watching the reaction. So the reaction of the streamer is the important part, which is why I always say that I don't think this is, you know, as widespread of a problem as like the title of the video would imply, because the people doing this are mostly targeting streamers. If you're not a streamer, like, you know, almost the entire player base, this doesn't affect you nearly as much. Again, not saying you might be in a game with a streamer, which means you'll have this happen to you, but they're targeting people specifically for this because they like the reaction that they get from it. And some people react much worse than others. Honestly, Spook and Jukes has made a career, and I like to think I do pretty well as well, just completely wasting the cheaters' time. But if they've gotten smarter now and they can do it with a bot, that we need to find different ways to combat that too now. So it's a constant arms race. But I love thinking about, I don't know, the psychology of what goes on in their brains when they actually decide to do this stuff. Like, look, everyone has cheated in a game at some point. I mean, hell, if you played Diablo 2, you've used map hack before. You've absolutely cheated. Hell, when I played Warcraft 3, which is PvP in 2001, I think, Reign of Chaos, I was like 11 or 12 years old. I downloaded a map hack, and then I told my teammate in a 2v2 I had map hack, and I was banned the next day because I was a smart 12-year-old. But the whole point is, yeah, I get it. When you're a dumb kid, cheating can seem like a fun thing to try, but the people in Hens' video, these are grown-ass men. These are legitimately fully grown adults doing this. And so I have to ask, what causes them to do that? Now, again, they say it's because they like seeing the reaction. They like seeing people get upset over that. And look, there is some small grain of that I can agree with, because some people deserve to be mocked and laughed at. For example, if you play a super nice game against, you know, a four-man team or something like that, and you go back and check their VOD later, and you got 12 hooks, didn't tunnel or camp or do anything, and you're perkless Freddy, and they're just shit-talking you, calling you a shit killer, saying it's bullshit or whatever. Yeah, sometimes when those people get knocked down a peg, it's pretty enjoyable, and so I can understand that from the, you know, the side doing the pegging. So I can understand why that is enjoyable. But the thing is, the people that the cheaters target don't deserve it. They're just random streamers that they've probably never even seen before. So it's not like a deserved thing where you actually like think, okay, I can kind of get why they're doing this. You just pick random people because, and that's the part I want to figure out. Why do they get enjoyment out of targeting random people and ruining their essentially livelihood if they're trying to, you know, stream Dead by Daylight? What causes the joy from that? And the obvious explanation is they're sociopaths. They just have no empathetic connection with humanity whatsoever. But then I even like thinking about it further. I want to like interview, I would love to interview one of these guys and just see like, I want to just keep going back and back and back and back. You know, I like seeing people suffer because of this. Okay, but why that? And it's like, I feel like it's always going to boil down to they had shitty parents or something like that, which is why like some part of me like almost feels bad, because if you're a fully grown adult and you're dedicating like 10 hours of your day to just fuck up other people's streams and gaming experiences, I just feel bad. Like something obviously went wrong in their life to cause them to act like this. And it's easy to just make fun of them and just say they're just psychos and sociopaths. But I firmly believe most people are not just born like that. I know every once in a while someone just rolls the dice badly, gets bad RNG on spawn, and they're just born like a psychopath. But I feel like most people, they have a reason for this. They just have a shitty life. They have shitty parents. I've noticed a lot of the people, especially the people that were talking to Hens, are Russian, and I can't imagine life is super great there. So, like, I try to think about all these factors that go into their life that would cause them to seek the misery of other strangers, essentially, because, I don't know, I just find the psychology of that super fascinating. So, I'm not expecting to fucking Dr. Phil it and, have a breakthrough where they're like, oh, I understand. My dad didn't love me. That's why I do this now. I know it's not going to happen, but I do find it like science experiment interesting, analyzing what drives people to this point. And so I guess that's really the point I wanted to talk about here. And I wish Hens went a bit further with his interview and like actually kept going back until we maybe got to a conclusion as to how a person can be driven to shit like this. Because it's pathetic. It's pathetic and embarrassing. The guy that Hens was interviewing called himself the CEO of cheating. Like, they obviously have ego and God complexes over being the biggest losers on the planet. But again, some part of me just feels bad for them because I feel like no one just starts out this way. Something has to have happened to them to cause this to happen, whether it's bullying or bad parenting or bad lifestyle or just, I don't know. There's a million things that could lead to that. And I think a lot of it is more sad than something worthy to make fun of. But anyway, that's it. I want to talk about it. I'll link Hens' video in the description. It's a super well-edited video. Who the fuck edits Hens' videos? It's like literally like Marvel Cinematic Universe, just like it's good. It's good shit. Anyway, thanks for watching. See you next time.